Thank you. Michael Cassidy, candidate for Congress to represent Mississippi's Congressional District 3, is now our guest in the Element Wealth Studios. Good morning, Michael. Thanks for coming on.
Morning, Gerard. Thanks for having me on.
All right, tell us a little bit about your background and what prompted you to throw your hat in the ring and run for public office to be a member of Congress.
Well, of course. My name's Michael Cassidy, and I'm a America First candidate for Congress in the Mississippi 3rd District, so 3rd District going out all the way out to Meridian and Starkville. My background, if you haven't figured out already by listening to me, it's not originally from Mississippi. I'm from Virginia originally, and that's where I was in high school when the attacks of September 11th happened. And my way to school every day, it would go by the Pentagon. I'd see the blackened outer shell of the Pentagon every day, and that's what motivated me to join the military, which is where I ended up for about 12 years of active duty with the U.S. Navy. And I ended up flying F-18s, got lucky enough, fortunate enough to earn a spot doing that. So taking off and landing off aircraft carriers, it was pretty cool. Yeah. And then the Navy, they decided to send me to Meridian in 2016 to be an instructor pilot. And so I did that for a few years. Then I left active duty. I still fly in the reserves and as a civilian test pilot up on the Naval Air Station. And I got into politics. I decided to run just because, like so many other people, I've seen all the bad things that have been going on in our country, and I wanted to do something about it. The country that we got now, our founders wouldn't recognize it. The country we got now, our grandparents wouldn't recognize it. And I'm scared to think about what it's going to be like 5, 10, 25 years down the road if nobody does anything about it. And I'm not seeing people do too much about it, so that's why I decided to get in.
I see. All right, so you decided to go straight to Congress. Did you give any thoughts to any other office, or did you feel like that you're best suited for to be a member of Congress, in particular in the House of Representatives?
Well, I thought about doing starting off on a more of a local level for sure.
Yeah.
But I looked at our current representation in the 3rd District, Michael Guest, and I saw back last May that he voted for the January 6th Commission, that he was one of only 35 Republicans to vote for the January 6th Commission. I thought Mississippi 3rd's a conservative district, very conservative district, one of maybe the 60 or 70 most conservative in the nation. And we got somebody representing us who's going to vote, who's going to have a vote to call people who are up there domestic terrorists, who's going to be voting with Benny Thompson and Nancy Pelosi on this. And that made me realize that we needed somebody new in D.C., and that needed to happen ASAP. And so that opportunity presented itself by that vote for sure for Mr. Guest, and then there are a few other things that we may be getting to later on.
Okay. So is it fair to say then that vote was kind of the inflection point? At that point, you said to yourself, I got to jump in the race?
That was definitely a moment on the road. It wasn't like a Paul on the road to Damascus moment where the heavens opened up and I realized I will run for Congress. It was nothing like that. I mean, I've been looking over the years at just at politics in general in terms of being frustrated, but just talking with friends and family about things and not really looking at doing anything because I was active duty for so long. You don't really do anything with politics when you're on active duty other than voting. But then the getting off active duty at the beginning of last year, and then seeing all the bad things that happened in the 2020 elections, and then I see our current representation, somebody who's voted to fund Planned Parenthood multiple times. That's not something he talks about very much, but again, it's somebody who's not that conservative, representing a very conservative district, and we need to have people that are like Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene. People are going to fight the establishment, just like Donald Trump did. That's one of the big things that Republicans loved about Donald Trump, is that he fought.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of person that I want to be when I go to Congress.
Okay. So are there any other votes? So you talked about the January 6th, and then you talk about the funding of Planned Parenthood. Of course, most of their funding comes from Medicaid, and but the money's fungible. I think that's pretty clear. There are some discretionary funding that also goes to Planned Parenthood as well, and that usually goes to the budget resolution process, a concurrent resolution process that is kind of a broken process, honestly, but it's the only way that we fund the discretionary aspect of government. When these budget resolutions come up, the alternative, unfortunately, is to vote against those, vote them down, which ultimately results in shutting down the government. Would you do that? Would you vote against these budget reconciliation bills?
Absolutely. There are several people in Congress, like Tom Massey, for instance, they vote against these things because they lead to where we are right now, which is $30 trillion in debt, and it ain't getting any lower.
Yeah.
And it's because people just they get scared by the leadership twist their arms. They get scared by the media saying that they're going to do all these horrible things if we can't get this resolution passed, and they just keep on getting passed, and they keep on getting more money out into the system, which is definitely contributing to inflation. All of this excess spending. Some of these votes that line up with the votes to fund Planned Parenthood. Those are the votes that are part of what's given Michael Guest a 67% rating from one of the leading fiscal conservative groups called the Club for Growth. 67%, because he votes. He's happy. He's fine to vote for some of these big bills. Now, he don't vote for all of them. That's why it ain't a 0% rating. But he is willing to go along with the crowd in D.C., to go along with the swamp in D.C., and we need somebody who's not going to go along with the swamp in D.C.
I see. So besides those areas, is there anything else where you consider yourself to be different from the sitting congressman that you wanted to highlight?
Absolutely. So one of the first bills that he co-sponsored, it may have been the first one, was a bill to basically give unlimited visas, just unlimited worker visas to various categories of workers coming in this country. And for immigration, one of the things that Mr. Guest talks about on his website that he talks about a lot is how we need to secure the border. And that's a layup for Republicans, securing the border, building the wall. Everybody should be in favor of that. But the visas are one of the biggest issues beyond just funding the wall, because half of illegal immigration comes from visa overstays. And so when somebody like Mr. Guest is voting, co-sponsoring the bill to bring in more people, more visas, and then, as you can imagine, the government not doing a good job keeping track of everybody who's in the country, they overstay. They end up contributing to that illegal immigration problem in the country, which is also part of what now we have more people. It's leading to more demand for housing. It's leading to lower wages for people because there's a bigger labor pool. And all of those things are not America first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I know that the congressman, I believe, was just at the border and reported from that. Did you happen to see that report, and do you have any reaction to that?
Well, I don't need to go to the Gulf of Mexico to know that the water's wet, and that him going to the border, it's a photo op. Everybody who's been paying attention to the border crisis knows that it's a problem and that we need to finish the wall. We need to supplement the actual Border Patrol with more personnel in order to help them catch the people that do make it through. And then we need to strengthen laws such as mandatory E-Verify, which is something Mr. Guest does not do. He has not been in support of. That's something that I would be in support of. But just going to the wall or going to the border, it really is just a photo op. It's not really doing anything. It's not as if he's really learning anything new. It's just so he can say, I'm part of I'm trying to secure the border.
Okay. So let's say we got the midterms coming up, and if the Republicans succeed in flipping the House, maybe even flipping the Senate, but you still got a Democrat president in charge, what do you think you could get through that the president would sign off on?
That's a very good question. It's going to be up to how strong of leadership we've got in the House of Representatives at that point, including the Senate too. So I'm not going to lie and say it ain't going to be an uphill fight, but it's a fight that we have to have in order to attach some of the legislation, such as finishing the wall and making sure that we've got specific funding for that wall, making sure that we've got that we take care of the political prisoners that are up in D.C. from January 6th. Something else that Michael Guest, he is a lawyer. He ain't said nothing about the due process being violated by these people. And that's something that we can, with the power of the purse, that we can have influence on. So whether or not we can truly we can get things passed, that's going to be up to Republicans. And we have to have the right Republicans, and that's why I'm running.
I got you. All right, Michael. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and good luck on the campaign.
Thank you.
You bet. Michael Cassidy, he is a candidate for Mississippi's Congressional District 3. We'll take a break right here on Middays. We got more to talk about. We got tickets to give away, too. Stay